I'm super excited to share this very delicious, not gummy and undercooked kind of bread. This is all but soft, fluffy, lofty and moist cinnamon roll. And the secret to this recipe? You're not gonna believe this, but the secret in making this perfectly textured cinnamon roll is this potato. Welcome back to my channel, Abramsmom Kitchenette. This is Freya, a simple mom and a food enthusiast. We will start by preparing our 2 1/4 teaspoons of active dry yeast, and make sure that your yeast is still alive and still under the best before date. Put the yeast in 1 cup of warm milk, which is about 100 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit, or just like the warmth of a baby's bath. This is the right temperature to encourage the yeast to develop and multiply. And this mixture will become foamy, and you'll know that your yeast is alive and will give a wonderful rise to our dough. And this is just what we need. Sit this for about 5 minutes. While we sip the yeast and milk, I'm going to add 6 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter to the bowl of my stand mixer. And to that, I'm gonna add our secret ingredient, the potato. 8 ounces of boiled potato. You can either mash it or grate it like this. Potatoes is very high in potassium, and potassium helps the yeast in rising even more faster. And the secret ingredient has a lot of starch, which locks in all the moisture in the dough and inhibits the protein in flour, which is the gluten, for creating big strands that might make your bread tough. So this potato makes our bread more lofty, fluffy, soft, and moist. In addition to this, we're now gonna add 2/3 of a cup of granulated sugar for just the right amount of sweetness of our dough. 1 large of egg at room temperature, 3½ cups of bread flour, and this of course will give our bread the strength, structure, the light and airy texture together with the yeast proofing process. Mix a bit. And now, as you can see, the yeast is already activated. It is foamy, and the smell it's very nice. Pour this over the flour, mix all together, and add 1½ teaspoons of salt. Sprinkle in and mix all up the ingredients to come together, and ready to attach this bowl to the stand mixer with dough hook. Beat this for about 15 minutes until you see the dough forming almost all on the dough hook, like this. The dough is now shiny and elastic. It's time to remove the dough on the stand mixer, and I use my bench scraper to get all this sticky dough. This is one of my favorite kitchen tools. Put the dough on a lightly floured surface. We don't need to knead this more, as the stand mixer already did that extra work for us. And what we need to do is just bring this dough into shape. Force everything to lock in all the moisture while forming this into a ball. And I'm using the sides of my hands to shape. After shaping it, put this in a buttered or oiled big bowl and cover with damp cloth or plastic to proof. And put this in an area where the temperature is warm. So the dough has risen. Take it out of the bowl and put it back on a lightly floured surface. Flatten this by a rolling pin into a size and thickness you want. Roll this into a rectangle, and it shouldn't take much effort at all because this dough is so nice and soft. So pinch down the 4 corners onto the board or any working surface to really make sure it's squared off in shape. And this is my favorite part, aside from taste test. Make sure to use a super soft unsalted butter. Use an offset spatula or the back of your spoon to smear or cover the top with butter. But leave some borders to prevent the filling to squeeze out when we roll. The main purpose of the butter really is to make the cinnamon sugar stick to the dough. So sprinkle 2/3 of a cup of brown sugar with 2 teaspoons cinnamon powder and a pinch of salt. Make sure that this is really nicely combined before sprinkle it evenly over the butter. So here we are, fold it up and roll. You don't have to roll this too tightly and squeeze both ends while rolling. If the dough has become too soft, you can put this back into the fridge to make it firm. So roll until the end. Push the dough so it will have a nice even shape. And now I'm going to cut this into 12 portions to make this into 12 pieces. First, cut it in half, then cut the other half in two, and the other half, so we will have 4 pieces of dough, and cut each piece into thirds. And now we have 12 equal pieces that perfectly fit with my 9 inches by 13 inches pan, where I buttered so the bread won't stick. You can use any pan or a baking dish, and you can portion the dough into sizes that you would like if you want, but make sure the sizes are even so it'll cook evenly in the oven. So here, as you can see, it's 12 pieces, perfectly fit on the pan. Cut side up in 4 rows of 3 and put a little space in between for the dough to expand. Cover this and put this in the refrigerator overnight for a nice long proof. The process takes a little longer, but this is really a great recipe and the best I have tried. And you can even serve this if you have guests at home, and you can prepare this in advance the night before, and in the morning it'll be ready to bake and serve. So into the fridge overnight, and I have here already out of the refrigerator for about an hour that I've set in a warm place. It's pillowy and risen, and now I will bake them in 177 degrees Celsius oven for about 30 to 35 minutes. If you have an instant read thermometer, you can use it and insert it into the center of your baking pan, and it should be 210 degrees Fahrenheit. But if you don't have a thermometer, you can manually test it by tapping the bread on top lightly, and you can hear a hollow sound. It means that your bread is already cooked. Okay, so the cinnamon are out of the oven for about 15 minutes now, slightly cooled but still a little bit warm. And now we're gonna top it with this cream cheese glaze, and it's simply made of cream cheese, confectioner sugar, vanilla, milk, and with a little bit of salt. Ingredients and recipe are written below the description box, including this glaze, and this glaze really needs a decadence and a nice tangy flavor which helps contrast the sweetness of the cinnamon roll. So just dollop and smear this all over the cinnamon roll. Look how amazing! And I have been cooking this at home twice a week because this is really my kids' favorite snacks. So let's fish this out. I want to show you the beautiful texture of these buns. Look at that wonderful light and airy texture. You can tell by pulling apart, the dough is so feathery and light. Like when you pick them up, there's really no weight in that it should be. I'm encouraging you to try this recipe at home. The taste, the texture, and everything are all perfect. And if you do, please don't forget to tag me at #abramsmom and share with me all your wonderful recreations of this recipe. And if you have any delicious variations, please share it with me too. So if you like this video and you find value, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up for this. Share this with your friends. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, for me to be inspired to create more videos like this. So if you enjoyed my video, please do try this recipe so you can eat, enjoy, and love with your family.